Yo, what is going on, Cover One crew? Welcome back to the show. If everybody is good as always, I'm wonderful because we get to dive into Boomer Bust, to tail of the tape. Who is the running back one when you compare both of them? I mean, they're both stellar prospects. This is like, splitting hairs to who is better, but it is always a fun comparison to see who is the better prospect coming into the NFL draft. It is going to be very interesting. Nonetheless, I'm a big fan of a Hampton, maybe a little bit more than a Jeanty, but I do believe they are both extremely high-end quality and will be such in the NFL. So tail of tape, Boomer Bust. Who is going to be that dude? Who is going to win this comparison game? That's what we need to know when we talk about measurables and statistics. To kick it off right off the bat, 5'8", 211 for a Jeanty, where Hampton is a 6', 221. So right away, we see that Hampton does have the better size and frame and stature, even though a Jeanty is extremely well set, well put together. We saw him at his pro day. He was looking jacked and ready to go. Absolutely, the frame is, 5'8". You would have loved to have seen it at 5'10". But, you can't quabble about it because, he still is a very good running back. 40 games, 750 in attempts, 47-69 yards, a nice 6.4 on the average, and a whopping 50 touchdowns for an ASHTON JEANTY. He adds 80 receptions for almost 700 yards and 6 receiving touchdowns. OMARION HAMPTON, on the other hand, he had 38 games played, 622 attempts for 65 in yards, 5.7 on the average, and a nice 36 rushing touchdowns. He also adds 73 in the receiving game, 635 yards, and 4 receiving touchdowns. When we talk about the first category on the board to see who's going to be the victor in this sense, speed, acceleration, burst, and breakaway speed. Speed, we got to give it right now, even though we haven't necessarily seen OMARION HAMPTON's pro day. He did run a 4.4. We didn't really see it until ASHTON JEANTY's pro day, what he ran. So, right now on tape speed, this is what we're talking about. Not necessarily the track speed, but the tape speed. You got to believe it is speed going a little bit to the side of an ASHTON JEANTY. We have seen him have the breakaway wheels, breakaway speed. I will give him the speed and the breakaway speed going to the Jeanty side because we have seen it more often than not. We're in OMARION HAMPTON. When it comes to speed, he's very good, very fast, but he does get caught from behind quite a bit on the film, and you don't like to see that. You want to see him have that breakaway wheels where guys cannot catch him, so you definitely got to lean in the speed and breakaway wheels to the side of an ASHTON JEANTY. Accelerators, I'm going to give it to both of them because it is very similar. They do have and share similar characteristics of being that one-cut runner that does make one plant step and try to go down the field. Even though Jeanty is, the master of break tackles and initiating contact, the accelerators for both these gentlemen are very sound. Where it comes to the burst, I'm going to lean to an OMARION HAMPTON because the burst over accelerators, I believe the accelerators 1-2 step is more towards Jeanty, where the first step burst is going towards an OMARION HAMPTON. That's where I think his skills definitely do, it's a slight edge, but it still isn't edge enough for me. When you see him on tape, when he shoots the gap, it's the one step and go, and the burst definitely, I'm leaning towards a Hampton in this sense. So winner in category 1 does go to an ASHTON JEANTY on this basic speed factors. It is very impressive what Jeanty is able to do on the field. Next one, statistical achievement. You got to give it to Jeanty, right? He had, 4,700 rushing yards. He had 2,600 yards last season. Stats, they only played, 8 games less, fewer apart. So, the stats definitely do dictate, or 2 games, apart. The stats definitely are going towards Jeanty. He had a phenomenal season last year, so obviously that is a no-brainer. Durability, they both get the checks because they're relatively healthy. We have not seen really any medical room trips for both these gentlemen, so they both get the check mark, both get the tick up. That is a very big positives going into the NFL. If I will caveat something here, it's all the workload that a Jeanty does have at 5'8", 211, where a Hampton at over 6', 220. You got to believe for longevity concerns, you got to believe that an OMARION HAMPTON likely will see better, durability throughout the longevity of his career, rather a Jeanty where he is so physical and violent of a runner that it may impact his health as he does move forward. Early on, maybe not, but as he does move forward, it could become a issue. Workload, check marks for both these guys, even though you could give the argument to say this could go to Jeanty's because he had more of the workload. They both are 3-down backs. They both can handle a heavy set of workload, both in the run and the pass, and where I do believe that, Hampton is likely the better pass catcher than a Jeanty at this point. The workload they can both handle in both the run and the pass game. Power upside, yes, we could give it to a Jeanty, but Hampton is no slouch. He can get off any would-be tackler. His body balance is good. His break tackle is good, and they can definitely both make plays post-contact. That's why I got the power for both these gentlemen, even though you see on the goal line as well, they both can, power their way in, whether it be leg drive, shoulder drop. They can do it both very well, but this category once again goes to an ASHTON JEANTY over a Hampton. He is behind 2-0 at this point. Not good for a Hampton at this point, but the next category is where he does pick up some steam. We're going to talk agility. So a lot of y'all are going to say, what are you talking about? You see the jump cuts that Jeanty has? You see it with Hampton as well, but it's a change of direction. You do give that to a Jeanty, where the agility movements, where he's not as stiff. And you see it from time to time. Jeanty does have that tight hip nature where it's not necessarily as fluid as you would like. That's why it is a slight lean towards an OMARION Hampton over a Jeanty when it comes to agility. But the change of direction, very, very, this is like splitting hairs, like I'm telling y'all, but you got to move it towards a Jeanty side on the change of direction because he does not lose speed when he does make the moves in the open field, and I think that's where he's got a Hampton beat, where the agility movements, whether it's behind the line of scrimmage making the move or in the open field, I'll give that side to an OMARION Hampton. Vision and patience, I like the vision a little bit more, even though we did see bigger holes for a Hampton on his film. You can see where he's going with these, even though Jeanty is very good and he will find his way through those gaps and lanes. I'm going to give the vision and the patience. We see the little stop stutter steps from a Hampton a little bit better than a Jeanty, where he's looking to bulldoze people rather than waiting for the hole to open up. But I don't have qualms either way. Both have very good vision. Both have very good patience. But at this point, I'm going to just lean to the side of an OMARION Hampton in a lot of these categories because I do believe he does have the leg up on these ones by a hair. So OMARION Hampton finally gets his first category on the victor in this one. He is definitely very good in all of these categories. Last one we got is the body balance. Both exceptionally good in this category. I'm giving doubles to a Jeanty. Body balance is why he is so damn good. Low center of gravity, runs with force. He gets hit, he's bouncing off these would-be tacklers, doing spin moves, keeping plays going, and falling forward majority of the time. Where in OMARION Hampton, we've seen it as well. Would-be tacklers trying to, clutch and grab and drop their shoulders. He's bouncing off like it was nothing. So I'm going to give 1 check to Hampton, 2 checks to a Jeanty, and we're going to give the body balance to ASHTON JEANTY, and I think it's absolutely warranted the way that he does play football. Pass protection, protecting your quarterback, definitely of the utmost importance for these running backs. I'm giving this to an OMARION Hampton. While I don't dislike Jeanty's pass pro, I think that we can make the argument to say that Hampton, Trevion Henderson are above him in this category as well. It's definitely something he can school up in the pros with some good coaching as well, understanding where his placement needs to be. But if you're talking about pure sure-handed pass pro running backs, Hampton is very good. Trevion Henderson, very, very good to exceptional. And I think Jeanty is on that above average to good range when it comes to that. And definitely the check mark goes to a Hampton for pass pro. Break tackles. Again, just like body balance, 2 checks for Jeanty, 1 check for OMARION Hampton. They both can break tackles with the best of them. They will make extra yards off point of contact, and they will continue to move forward. But we've seen the tape, man. We haven't seen a guy come out of the NFL, or come out of college football, I should say, with this much skill in break tackle and body balance and continuing to get yards post-contact. That is the biggest threat of a Jeanty's game, and the break tackle is absolutely superb. On the elite level trend for Jeanty, where in OMARION Hampton is no slouch himself. He gets 1, but you got to give it to a Jeanty for break tackle because that's all this man does is break would-be tacklers and receiving hands. Got to side with OMARION Hampton in this respect because for me, he reminds me a lot of an Arian Foster type of running back without the home run wheels that a Foster did possess in his early days. But Hampton on the receiving game, even though we did see Jeanty have 80 receptions to OMARION Hampton's, 70-some, I just more of a natural hand catcher in a Hampton than a Jeanty, where Jeanty's hands are definitely not a liability, but I'm going to give the receiving hands edge to OMARION HAMPTON. And in this category, they both split. It is a tie, which makes it a very interesting finish. Who's going to win this? They are tied. I don't think I've ever seen this before in my life doing a film comparison. Yes, they do, grade out differently with checks on different categories, but OMARION HAMPTON, just like an ASHTON JEANTY, 12 out of 16, these guys are so damn good. So when you're talking who should I pick in this NFL draft, it legitimately is splitting hairs. I don't think you could go wrong with either running back, but if it is for my liking, I'm taking the bigger running back. I'm taking the guy who isn't, forced to be as violent and physical. That's why I lean towards an OMARION HAMPTON. He was my number 1 ranked running back. Jeanty was my number 2. And it's because of those situations of longevity concerns. How much punishment will Jeanty take at his size? Will it eventually wear him down? Where Hampton, he understands how to run. He understands how to avoid tacklers, but he can bounce off would-be tacklers if needed. And I think that's kind of where it grades for me on who I like better. But I think both these running backs right now are absolute stellar prospects and will be something in the future in the NFL. But there you have it. That is tail of the tape, man. The battle of the running back ones at this point. You guys know Trevion is my dude, but I also love an OMARION HAMPTON. This running back class is so damn good. We could legit see 15 running backs of high-end quality be big-time ballers in the pros after this draft. There is no question, man. You got how many grades that are draftable grades on these guys? I think I got 25 draftable grades on these running backs. It is a heck of a lot. So I do like these guys a lot, but Hampton, I'll lean towards my biases of what I covet in a running back, but Jeanty is definitely no slouch in his game either. But there you have it. Nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give me your thoughts. What are y'all thinking, Jeanty or Hampton? Throw it in the comments. Tell me why you're picking either one. And I mean, it's going to be a great debate until draft day, and we'll see what does happen when they do get the pads on in the NFL. But we'll see you next time. I am out.